The Oscar nominations are out for the 88th Academy Awards. I am joined by the Fresh Outlook guest panel here today. Tom Lavecchia, a branding expert, Barna Donovan, professor of communications at St. Peter's University, and Alain Sanders, our resident genius and all-around good guy. Let's take a look at some of the films. Now, my favorite actor in the world is actually in The Big Short. His name is Logan Crawford, and he actually reports on the firing at Lehman Brothers. So you saw it this morning, Barna, when everybody gets laid out off at Lehman Brothers and they're carrying out the boxes. The voices you were listening to was none other than mine.
And now I have to see it again. Because I recommend it. It's a very good film. Yeah. It's definitely deserves the nomination. So I will see it again just for that.
Just to hear my voice. Excellent. Even though you get to hear it here every few weeks anyway. I like The Big Short. I didn't love it. And I'll say that even as a cast member. The problem was I felt a lot of the dialogue tended to be explanatory to try to explain in layman's terms what the financial meltdown was all about in 2008. And for somebody who was a little more well-informed than that, I found that a little annoying.
Sure, for someone more well-informed, but most of the people are not going to be that audience. So like I'm not that informed with the financial matters. So I, as the average audience, I really appreciated it. And what I really appreciated I didn't think it was too dryly informative. I appreciated the humor, and especially when they get the celebrities like Anthony Bourdain or Selena Gomez to suddenly to start explaining something in a humorous way.
And for those who have not seen it, and I don't know if you gentlemen have seen it, they actually say, you know, for more on what a 401k is, let's turn to Selena Gomez now. And she'll be in a bikini talking directly to camera, or Anthony Bourdain will be slicing up, vegetables and explaining like, well, it's sort of like this fish. And okay, so it was an interesting film. It had a lot of big stars in it, and now it is up for a Oscar nomination for Best Picture of the Year. Alan, did you have a favorite film from this year?
No, I usually don't. I usually like films, and to the extent I get to see them, I enjoy them. But I never come out with a favorite film, because usually once you see one that hits you, then you see another one that hits you. So it's something that just I see as pure entertainment.
Yeah. It's tough also to pick a favorite film, because you might have favorite films in different genres.
Right.
Your best favorite sci-fi film might be Star Wars, but then you might really enjoy the Brian Wilson story, which I thought was a fascinating movie. I forget the name of that film, but it was excellent. Tom, one of the criticisms of the Oscars this year is that they are too white. Every best acting actor, whether that be male or female, is white. What do you think of this criticism?
Yeah, so this is a major challenge. So there's obviously a racial divide in this country as we speak. There's a lot going on between the police, the media, and so forth. So the timing on this is just poor. So with that being said, there are 0 candidates that are black or African American. That's 100% white, and that's going to present an issue. And Chris Rock is actually hosting the event, so I know he may put some humor on it, some light on it, but it's going to be a pretty big challenge considering what's going on in the political environment in this country.
Alan, I feel that if you're going to have a colorblind society, you got to have a colorblind society that, you know, one year they might all be white. I know it's 2 years in a row now, but another year all the nominees might be black. I mean, if we keep on pointing to this self-imposed quota system, we're actually doing more harm than good. What do you think?
Right. Well, I agree with you. I think if we are interested in a colorblind society, then it should really be that. I think the issue, however, with the Oscars is twofold. First, you're looking at a membership that is male, white, and older than most of the American population. So the judge and the jury are not representative of America. So that's part of the racial issue. Secondly, the movies are a mass medium. They should reflect the masses of Americans that go to see them. And so what you've got is a professional organization that, on the basis of its own standards, picks whatever it believes are the winners, but that organization is mostly older white males, and it's picking stuff that appeals to the masses. Take a contrast, the American Bar Association, also mostly white, male, older people, but they're not a mass media organization.
Right.
So although they might pick whoever they think is the best lawyer, that's not going to have an impact on the broader population, because whoever they think is the best lawyer, most people won't care. But when an organization picks what is the best movie, or what is the best actor, or what is the best whatever, on a medium that appeals to the broad masses, that's where the difference comes in, and where people want to see a reflection of America.
Barna, do we see a big film emerging this year that's going to walk away with arms filled with Oscars?
I would say it's too early to call at this point. I mean, looking ahead at the kind of films that are being touted as the big budget films, we're hearing mostly a lot of things about the big summer movies, more superhero things and spectacle films. So I would. Oh, I'm sorry. You mean for the
For these upcoming Academy Awards, it's going to be a dominant film.
It will be The Revenant. That's what I think.
Have you seen it?
Yes.
And what's your review?
I am interestingly split between The Revenant and The Big Short. I think I liked it a lot more than you did. I think it's an important film, so I'm glad that they told a story. The Revenant visually, just viscerally, emotionally, it hit me very hard. So depending on the mood I'm in, I'd be willing to go with with Big Short personally. I think the Revenant will be getting the award.
All right. Tom, a big part of the Oscars, and a lot of people don't realize this, is the marketing behind it, the campaigning that goes on. This is basically an election of sorts, and the films that walk away with the awards and the nominations, that means extra cash in the pockets of those people who produce the films.
Yeah, exactly. So even Sony, for example, to illustrate back to the point about race, Sony actually released Concussion, which is with Will Smith, on Christmas Day. So right off the bat, you have a big box office, projected. You have Will Smith, you have Sony, so it's a huge production company, and they release it, and he still did not get a nomination. And though I didn't see the movie, it was critically acclaimed as far as I understand.
And what I've seen of his performance in the trailer only, it was phenomenal, because he seems like a man transformed. He's almost unrecognizable physically and also in his speech patterns.
Well, that's a point. And then also Straight Outta Compton, who was a movie talking about controversy in the 80s as kind of the first rap hip-hop group that started controversy, and talked about, hey, this is a reflection of our music and our times, and it went against the grain. Comes out 25, 30 years later, whatever the time is, and still doesn't gain traction even as an historical reference. It kind of shows you how much progress have we made on certain mediums. And Alan's point is, probably the same people that were in the Academy back then are probably in the same people in the Academy now, just with a little whiter or less hair.
Exactly. Alan's favorite actor, Vin Diesel, actually recently said that unless the Academy acknowledges films like The Fast and Furious 7, it shows how irrelevant the Academy Awards are. Because, like you said, that this group of older men from the establishment are not necessarily picking the films that people are interested in viewing.
And that's right. And this goes a little against what we're talking about race. That is to say, it seems to go in a different direction, but it illustrates the same point. I think a study was made recently by professors, sociology professors, not sure whether it was UCLA, but it was one of the West Coast universities, where they took a look at the winners, the selection of movies versus the popularity of movies among the greater masses. And their study seemed to indicate that the winners at the Oscars tend to be the more elite, the more serious kind of movies, as opposed to the more popular movies, which is what people really wanted. So what you get out of that is that the Academy Awards are really a judgment not made by the public, but made by the industry. And the industry is, of course, much more interested in creating an image of itself, an elitist image of itself, and that carries over a little bit to race, because they're not representative of the wider public.
I'm going to give a final word to Barna, and that's going to be not about the Oscars, but about a man who's likely to be honored at the Academy Awards this spring, and that is Alan Rickman, who just died at the age of 69. Millennials are very struck hard by his passing, because they grew up with Harry Potter and his characterization of Snape. Tell me a little bit about Alan Rickman and your thoughts of his passing.
It's funny you mentioned the millennials being very close to him because of Harry Potter. Generation X, for me, he's the ultimate diehard villain. So I guess
Right.
whichever generation you're a part of, you're really feeling his loss. That he was, even with very popular mainstream films like that, he did a fantastic job at them. But he was just an outstanding craftsman, just an outstanding actor.
And we're going to talk about an outstanding rock star when we get back. A man who died this past week, who brought a lot of changes to the pop cultural scene. More on that after this.